So let's pretend you're working at a hospital or you're supervising a hospital, and a man in the middle of the night gets rolled into your emergency room. You don't know anything about the man except for the fact that he was on a plane leaving London, England, and flying to Sydney, Australia. And he's had a supermassive heart attack. And so the plane has made an emergency landing in order to bring this man in to your hospital. And here are the two things that you know. You know that the man is 60 years old. You know that the man's name is Billy Kerr, and he's just suffered a crazy super heart attack. And that's all you know. You don't know anything about this guy. Now I know this sounds like the next J.J. Abrams movie, but it's actually a story to a game that I want to talk about today. And the game today is called Holding On: The Troubled Life of Billy Kerr. It's by Hub Games. It's a cooperative game for 2 to 4 players. And so the story here is it's a campaign game. It's a narrative game where you are running a hospital. So first, let me talk about the gameplay, and then I'll talk about the narrative aspect. And I'm going to be completely upfront with you guys. So we'll start with the first part, the gameplay. Total brutal honesty. This is not a great game. It's not. The mechanics of it are kind of samey. And from game to game, because it is a campaign game, it changes up a little bit and your objectives change. But essentially, the game Holding On is a resource management game where the resources are your workers, your employees. So I'm not going to talk about in-depth gameplay things as far as how to play. I knew when I started this channel I didn't want it to be a here's how to set up and here's how to play and explain all of the rules to every game. There's how to play videos, there's watch it played videos that you can see. I kind of want this channel to be just more talking about games instead of taking my time to say this is what you do on your turn. But essentially, in a general way, you're managing the day-to-day of a hospital. So there are 3 shifts. There's a morning crew, there's an evening shift, there's an overnight shift. And you're only given so many employees that you can assign on each shift. And you're thinking, well, it's easy, just assign the same people to each shift and just get all your shifts covered. But the shifts are denoted by cards that you flip over as far as Billy's condition. So you might flip over, you shuffle this deck of cards, and you flip over, oh, Billy's sleeping or he's calm. And so, hey, not a whole lot. We can put one person on the shift just to make sure he's okay. Other shifts, you'll flip over a card, and he's going nuts, and he's got a lot of problems, and you need a lot of people to cover that shift. And so you're managing your resources of people because, like, you can stress them by having them work doubles or split shifts, but then the only way to get rid of their stress is to give them a day off, which means they have to sit out for a round, and which means you lose people, but then you can also lose the game if you have people stressed out, or if you run out of cards, if you haven't gotten your objective by the time the deck is over with. So it's a cooperative game for 2 to 4 players. And so kind of wrapping up the gameplay aspect, it's really not that innovative. And I know that's weird because I've picked this game for a featured game. It's really not. Complete honesty. It's kind of cool. It's interesting enough at the beginning, but this is I believe it's a 10 game campaign, and playing it 10 times, it's kind of samey. And your objectives do change a little bit from here to here and from game to game, and the setup is a little bit different, but it's really just kind of how do we manage a day? Like, how do we move people around, make them work doubles, but not get them stressed out? Because if you can't cover a shift, if nobody's working a shift, well then, thematically it's like, well, if nobody's working a shift at a hospital, you get flagged. And if you have 2 flags or something like that, then the hospital gets shut down and Billy gets sent to another hospital or something, because it's like you're not staffing your hospital, you're not taking care of the people you're supposed to take care of. So that's pretty much wrapping up the gameplay. aspect. So the first aspect, the gameplay, meh. I'd give it a C plus at best. But the second part is the narrative. So Billy Kerr is a guy, like I said, he's 60 years old. He comes in, you don't know anything about him. You're trying to find out who he is. You know he's only got a few days to live. Yeah, his time is limited. He's going to die. You're looking for next of kin, a spouse, someone that you can contact. And for for the staff, they basically have to start talking to him. They have to do some care to get Billy to be okay and start opening up and trusting him. So anyone that works any type of hospital job where there's palliative care, there's social work care, this is a really interesting game because you'll kind of feel the same, where it's like it's not just about the physical needs that you have to take care of. I mean, that's the main part of the game, but the narrative aspect of the game is the palliative care of the bedside manner, sort of getting him to open up, getting him to talk about his life. And you find out that his life is pretty interesting, and he does have secrets about his life. And his life does, or his secrets, they do revolve around a particular time period that I found really fascinating, that I personally found really fascinating. Like, for example, I won't spoil it, so this isn't it, but let's say Billy's lived through 9/11, and so that's his kind of thing, of his big tragedy, is that he lived through, during, and after 9/11. That's not the case. That's not the story. But that's kind of what I mean, is like it's circled around a certain event, a certain part of kind of history that I thought was incredibly interesting. And it's got some real serious themes of love, lost, of family, of, I think even on the box here it says, dealing with themes of dying, themes of regret. And so that's the part that makes me want to shoot this video. The narrative aspect really drew me in, because while the gameplay, was like meh, samey, the narrative I thought was really interesting. The setting that it's set in, because he's talking about his life and his childhood and these big secrets, these reveals about himself as you play through the game, thought they were pretty interesting. When you get to the end of the game, it kind of spoils it for you. I'm spoiling it. He dies. And so there's this part where you flip over a card and you see just the empty bed that Billy was in, and it's empty. And there's some text that you read, and I just went, did I just cry at a board game? Did I just cry from a board game? I think I did. No, I mean, I got a little emotional, a little bit of tears in my eyes, but it really does feel like you're just sitting trying to get this guy to like talk about these terrible things that have happened to him, and like the terrible things that he's done to other people. And the theme itself, I know it's a pretty kind of a small box. It looks kind of weird with the artwork and stuff. It's got some really deep themes that it deals with in the narrative. Anyways, unfortunately, the gameplay is just like, meh, we're just kind of going through another game. But the narrative, which is, of course, you guys know about my whole channel, is what draws me into the game. And by the end, I don't think I've ever had a board game. Maybe there might be another game that I'll talk about. But I don't think I've had a board game where I've come to a story and just been like, I just got something in my eye, like just kind of teared up a little bit. Like, we're done. That's it. He's gone. The story is complete. We've managed to beat every game, and wow, it was just, it's like when you get to the end of a book, it's just, really interesting. My cat's trying to play with wants to be on the video, and so this is what it's called. Like, got distracted. Holding on: The Troubled Life of Billy Kerr. And so this is a good one to check out. It's definitely deep. It's got, like I said, themes that are adult. I don't mean adult as in pornographic, but just adult because they're heavy. Suicide, regret, death, dying, things like that. It's kind of cool that you're running the hospital and kind of staffing things and stuff like that. So it's a really cool game. Not necessarily for the game, but the story was really great. I love the story. And so that's why it's featured. And so I will see you guys all in the next video. Take care.